Okay, it's preparing to live stream. Okay, good.
Yep.
Shit, oh my.
What's up?
Okay, it's preparing to live stream. Okay. Okay. Okay, so I think that's going, and I will record as well. Record to the cloud, correct, Joe?
Yep.
Okay. And hi, Erica.
Hi, Tony.
Hi, Jean.
Hi, Robin.
Hello.
Hi, Paul. Nice to see you.
Hi.
Okay.
Hi, Jeff.
Here's Jeff. Hi, Jeff. Yeah, we'll give folks another minute here to join. Okay. Rob McDonough, can you hear me?
Hi, Robin.
Yes, I can. Sorry, I was muted.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay.
Rob, I think the guy at this is Peter Parsons. Rob, we spoke earlier today about you poisoning South Salem, if you remember.
Yep, I tried.
The gentleman involved is being called by Alamon, or whatever the name of the company is.
Yep, understood.
Thank you for for sort of linking me up.
No problem.
Now he
All
can
right, but-
explain why we're poisoning people.
Good.
Okay, so I think I'd like to go ahead and kick this off. So we had an open item to have NYSEG present to the Oakridge Water District community and talk about some of the things that they've done with regards to the Pound Ridge Circuit, which serves Oakridge, the Water and Sewer District, as well as parts of Vista, other parts of Vista in South Salem. So Rob offered to get on a Zoom call with us and provide some updates. And so I'll turn this over to him. But one thing I want to say is that I think, you know, based on some of the latest work that's been done, there hasn't been any more intermittent or frequent outages, I think, at least for the last couple of months, with the exception of the one where we had a storm come through. Which is good news. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Rob. Rob, I think you were going to share a screen, right?
Did you have the document I sent you? Otherwise, I will have to find it because I don't have it right now.
Oh, did you send me a document? Hold on.
Thought I did, but
did?
maybe.
No, I don't think you did. No.
Okay, hang on one second. I'm sorry.
Somebody tell me who Rob McDonough is and who he
I'm sorry.
Oh.
I'll introduce myself.
Yeah.
I am Rob McDonough. I'm the manager of regional operations for the NYSEG division of Brewster. So I'm in charge of all the electric operations that would serve your area.
Yeah, and I just want to reiterate, the purpose of this call is solely to discuss NYSEG. So we're going to restrict it to that, and we'll give folks an opportunity to ask any questions specific to NYSEG.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Just give me 1 second. Let me just get the map and I'll share my screen.
Sure.
And then I will go over what.
So Tony, while Rob is sharing his screen, you mentioned the disruptions. So if I was just going to read off the last ones for the last few. So my records show there were a few in August, but if we restrict it to September, there were none in October, to my recollection, and then in September we had 3. I think on 9/12, 9/26, and 9/30. The 3 that I recall.
Okay. That 912 one, did you record that? Was that the one that VRI reported?
VRI recorded that, and
Yeah, and I spoke to Chris at NYSEG. He didn't find any indication of that one, and I've asked VRI to verify it. They haven't gotten back to me now that I'm thinking about it. So
okay, yeah, just so you're exactly right. Those aren't ones I reported. Those are ones that VRI reported. I reported the one on 9/30.
Right. Okay.
So I guess we could start with the momentary interruptions. So what NYSEG did was we installed a recording device on the line that feeds the water treatment plant, and we also recorded, put a recording device at the Vista Firehouse. And we did this because we wanted to see if, even though they were right across the street, if there were issues that were isolated to just the line that fed the water treatment plant. Now, as Tony said, so we kept it there for about 30 days. We did not record the ones on 9/12 at either the firehouse or the water treatment plant. At 9:30, we had already had them removed. But
which would explain, sorry to interrupt, Rob, but which would explain the 9:30 event that Erica mentioned, because that's when your guys took down power to remove the recording device.
yeah, that was the day. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, we had to take the power down there.
No, it was at 4 a.m. on 9:30.
Oh, then that's not it. Okay.
I had one issue on Stone Meadow. My tenant informed me today that for 154 Stone Meadow, she was getting brown water. That was today. Is there?
Okay. Yeah, Joe, let me just interrupt you for a second. So we're discussing just the energy, the utility power. We are aware of the brown water, the discolored water issues, which are being addressed as well.
That's funny, right?
But thank you.
Stay around longer because there was another one, right?
So, so what we've done since, I've actually spoken to Erica.
Yeah, hi, Rob.
How are you? So we had a long conversation. We've taken a lot of measures since our conversation. The first one was we tree trimmed the Pound Ridge 455, which is the feed to this water treatment plant and all of Vista. It was scheduled for this year, and it is on a 5-year trim cycle, and now completed. I think that's, we have done many tests, and 96% of the outages on that circuit are tree related. A full tree trim spec is going to help significantly, especially in the first 3 years of the cycle.
Tree trim.
Now, it's a 5-year cycle, and our easement, there are places in that area that we don't have the greatest easements. Our normal easement is 10 feet to the side of the lines, 15 feet above, and 10 feet below. When we achieve full spec tree trimming, it's pretty efficient for 5 years. What we are looking to do, and we did not get it passed in our rate case, is what we call blue sky trimming or utility protection zone. What that is 10 feet to the side of the lines, ground to sky is clear. We've done some tests on some circuits in the division, and the reliability is a lot better. Now, it's just a reality, though, that the Lewisboro and Pound Ridge areas like their trees. Even if the rate case did approve that, I'm not sure we would legally be able to get that full spec. But right now, so 2020, your circuit has been trimmed. It won't be trimmed again until 2025. What we also did, though, is the momentary trips that you guys were feeling were from devices that we've installed. That's a utility standard to avoid transient faults that don't take down the wire or stay on the wire from actually turning people's power off. What the device does is it opens the line and then closes back in and sees if there's a fault there. That does it 3 times. If the fault is still there at the 3rd time, it actually opens and everybody's actually out of power. So it's really a protection device. Now, I know that you guys have an extenuating circumstance that causes your pump systems to have issues. So what we did is we changed the sensitivity on how that trips. We made the curve on how, like I said, the sensitivity on how those devices trip to be much slower. Now, what that will do is that will actually cause some people to lose power when they otherwise wouldn't. Because if the fault beats so the fault is now going to beat that trip. We've slowed our trip down so the fault can beat it. That stops that intermittent tripping. Some people are going to actually be out of power and we're going to have to roll a truck to get there. We think that because of your situation, that is the best solution. It's not something we took lightly. We did a lot of studies. It's going to hurt our overall reliability numbers, but we took into consideration the situations you guys have there. Now, I've also spoken to Erica about some things that you could do on your end. And I'm not going to say on this call how expensive those things are, but there are ways to have uninterrupted power from the pump system. I in an industry before this, I installed a lot of them. Now they're not cheap. It's an option. So, that's something you can also think about. But we understand the reliability issues in general on the circuit. Most of them are tree related. We have had a plan to put some real money into that circuit for 2020. The problem is the rate case, which is normally approved in April, is still not approved. We expect the PSC to sign off on that November 1st or November 2nd, Monday. And the reason that is a lot of it was COVID and there's some additional costs that incurred. So we have been told that even if the rate case does not get approved, the Pound Ridge circuit will commence in 2021. It will commence in April. And there's significant upgrades to the system. And I will show you that now.
Yeah, Rob, if you could elaborate on what that is for the folks on
Sure.
the call who don't know.
Absolutely. How do I share my screen?
On the bottom of your screen,
Yep,
Rob, you
got
should
it.
have a green screen share. Okay.
Got it. Here we go. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
A lot of dots.
A lot of dots, a lot of different colors. So let me see if I can make this bigger for everybody. Give me 1 second. Okay, so what we have here is, this is the Pound Ridge 455 going from my left, which is where the substation is, to the right, and all those yellow boxes are the community that you guys live in, and that's Oakridge condos. The areas highlighted are where we're going to make significant upgrades and provide alternate feeds in case we lose the main feed, which at this point comes up Conant Valley Road, to your area. So there's a key at the bottom. I'm going to start with the green. So the green here is the Pound Ridge 455 and the Pound Ridge 456. So this is basically between Old Church Lane. We are going to replace the aging infrastructure, all the poles that are over 60 years old in this area. We're also going to build another feed in this area. So in case we lose the feed where my mouse is now, we can actually feed your area down Kitchewan Road. Then we'll go to the purple. The purple is the Conant Valley Road, the main feed onto 123 there. 85% of the poles in this section are over 60 years old. We're going to replace them all. We're going to install new wire. And there will be, because of where we're going to have to put new poles, there will be increased tree trimming.
Rob, that dense area with the yellow squares, that's the Oakridge Commons, correct?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Let me zoom back out. Next section I'll talk about is the yellow right here, which I believe is East Street. Oh, hang on a second.
That looks like Glen.
It might be Glen.
Yeah, I was going to say that's Glen Drive.
There you go, Glen Drive. You guys know it better than me. So we're going to build another circuit tie on Glen Drive. The 25% of the poles are greater than 60 years old. We'll replace those.
No, I want to listen to it.
And build a three-phase circuit tie. And then this red section, which is the largest, Lockwood Road to East Street. We're going to build, this is all single phase. We're going to build all three-phase so we can basically feed from the back side, from the Connecticut side of Lewisboro, up through the three-phase that's up in this area in case we lose Conant Valley, we lose 123. And 25% of the poles are greater than 60 years old. We're going to bring three-phase, additional tree trimming. We have that in all the little red spots. I mean, this is the biggest section of it. But there's some more areas over here that will be also changing some 60-year-old poles. So here's what I'll tell you. The PSC has limited us to $5 million. Oh, and this is also going to have some other protection devices. Limited us to $6 million per circuit per year. We are maxing out that budget on this circuit. It's about a $6 million investment. With the tree trimming, the wire, the poles. So, we are maxing out what the PSC allows us to invest in a single particular area in the year of 2021. The engineering is completed. We're in the permitting stages now. The plan is to commence on April 1 of 2021, even if the rate case doesn't get approved. And Peter, I can get you this map. You can have it in your office if you want. People can get it. I have no problem with that.
Thank you.
Yeah, that'll be great if you can send us that map.
Sure.
Then I can pair it up with the one I've got on my table.
There you go.
And Rob, is this work scheduled to be completed in 2021?
Yes, anything that with this rate case, anything that we commence in 2021 has to be completed by 2021.
Okay.
What input can the residents have on the rate case decision?
So I believe the rate, well, I don't, you know what, I guess because the rate case isn't completed.
Oh, you did?
Isn't signed, you can probably call the Public Service Commission or talk to Peter and Tony and they can do that on your behalf.
And you also can do this.
Somebody is not muted.
Well, yes, you know.
Yes, there's someone that
And just press
should be
this.
muted.
Over there.
I hear
on the
a sweet little voice.
He can take care of it.
But I do believe that it might be beyond the point of, I think the settlement has been between the parties is basically approved. Rate case is not really I'm an operations guy. I just fix what they let me fix when I have the money to spend it. Peter may have more information on the rate case than I do.
Well, I don't at the moment, but I can probably get some. I
can-
didn't realize, if I was to pressure a certain lady who's got some power over the PSC to amend this, what would you choose as an amendment?
Are you talking to me, Peter?
Yes.
I think I've worked with the engineers. My input from my years of experience in this area are why we picked the certain spots that we picked.
Mm-hmm.
Given the limitation on budget, the only other thing I thought we could do is pick up an automated tie down in Scott's Corners. The problem with it is after we ran this, and it was an expensive option, and also the fact that we have to feed it all the way from Scott's Corners, the voltage down here, we would have a voltage issue. So, I've run through this thing pretty hard over the last year and a half. The one thing eventually we need is blue sky trimming. Hopefully in the next rate case, which will probably be 2023, we'll be filing for it. And that will be the only real significant upgrade so in 2025, when we hit Pound Ridge again, and we have the blue sky trimming option, I mean, that's the only real game changer I could tell you about.
Okay. I'll contact the senator who is the direct link with the PSC and ask her if she can somehow incorporate blue sky trimming for this circuit.
Yeah, when we we have to refile, and I think it's a 4-year settlement or a 3-year settlement. So we'll be filing in 2022 for a 2023 rate case, I believe. And in that rate case, blue sky trimming will be essential in our reduction of outages.
Okay.
And Rob, the blue sky trimming, that doesn't do anything about the private properties where they've denied or not permitted trimming, correct?
So I will tell you, with your help and the help of Supervisor Hanson and Pound Ridge, we have really limited those this time. I think we were at like 37 the last time we trimmed the circuit, and I think we're at 3. And even one of those gave us some partial rights. Now, the only thing I'll say about that is that sometimes our easements don't even come close to the real spec we want. And that's something for the legal department, and I'm not sure we'd ever really take that on. But, we only have like 2.5 people that limited us on the easement that we had there. So, I mean, that's a significant difference in the last time we trimmed the circuit. It's like 90% better.
No, that's good. Excellent.
Much better.
One quick question. Is it, so you're talking about these 60-year-old poles? Communities to have 60-year-old poles?
No, I'm listening. I can do 2 things at once.
Should we be real happy that we're suddenly replacing these 60-year-old poles?
So the amortization life we amortize a pole asset for 55 years. So, that's, 60 years is about the time we should change them. Now, the biggest difference is we used to amortize a pole on 55 that was 50 to 55 years with they were much smaller class. They were class 3 and 4 poles, which in class of pole means thickness. We used to put toothpicks in the ground because that's what everybody did. Now when you see the poles, they'll be bigger. So they went from, we used to do 35 class 4s. Then we went to 40 class 3s, and now we're installing 50 or 45, depending, class 2s or 1s. So, you know, the strength of the poles that we are installing is significantly upgraded.
But shouldn't that just be BAU? Like what's the, I guess I'm just perplexed a little bit. Like this is some sort of big deal. Like the poles are 60 years old, they should be replaced, right?
Well, I mean, so
like, let's, you know, there should be accountability here, right? All the residents who are on this call, we've been dealing with what are really substandard conditions. I guess I'm just trying to understand, like, you know, are we taking a victory lap because we're replacing some 60-year-old poles, or is this?
So you have two things, right? You know, a pole at 55 years old, we still amortize. We still don't get our rates. Our rates are based on, you know, we don't amortize that life of the pole, the rates that you guys pay to 55 years. So I understand what you mean. You know, it seems like a long time. You know, that's what somebody has agreed that the life of a pole is. The amount of them is the significant win here, especially when it is going to increase the tree trimming in the area. And the fact that your circuit was trimmed this year with a 90-something% better refusal rate than when we did this in 5 years ago. You know, we've already installed the technology, some of the most upgraded technology that's in the area, but it actually affected you guys negatively. So we had to make some changes there.
I hope you can appreciate, this is like bringing us to the bare minimum, you know, like, it's just sort of funny to hear you say it, but you know, I think most of us feel like we're at the substandard level. And so by doing this, yeah, maybe we're getting to, like, you know, we're moving from third world to second world.
Okay. Anything else, Rob, on the in terms of your map and the 2021 project?
No, I really don't have anything else to share.
Okay.
Does that map include Laurel Ridge or just Oak Ridge?
I'm not sure where Laurel Ridge is, so I can't answer that question.
Peter, anybody?
Well, it's in that same, hold on a second. Let me.
It's a different entity.
Well, so I mean, this is the whole area of Pound Ridge and Lewisboro that, you know, all of these affect that whole stretch of Smith Ridge Road from Conant Valley to Connecticut.
Okay.
So if you're in that area, then yes.
Okay.
Tony, can I jump in with a question? This is Erica.
Absolutely, Erica. Go ahead.
Okay, thanks. First of all, Rob, I want to say thank you. I know people on this call won't know this, but Rob is an expert on our circuit. He literally drives it every day. So from an operational standpoint, he really, really knows our situation, and he's absolutely, you know, an expert on our circuit. And so with that, you mentioned that we're on a 5-year trimming cycle, and you also talked about the rate case, Rob.
Yep.
What do we have to do to get on a 3-year trimming cycle? I know you and I have talked about the role advocacy can play in that from local government. And obviously that's not your area, but how do people get from a 5-year cycle? Because what I'm getting at here is, sure, things are great now, but if trees are our biggest problem and we're on a 5-year cycle and we probably should be on a 3-year cycle, how do we get on a 3-year cycle?
So I've seen a lot of studies on this, and now vegetation is my nemesis, but you know, I'm not a forester, but I will tell you that, you know, Con Ed does a 3-year cycle, but they trim a less of a easement. They only go 5 feet to the side and 10 feet above. We attempt to go 10 feet and 15. And I've seen studies across utilities, and those are basically the two standards that I've seen. People who go 3 go 5 and 10. People who do 5 go 10 and 15. The real answer to me is blue sky and 5. And then what that will do is in 5 years, we still won't have trees in that in that area. and then we can really focus on hazard trees. Our sister company that we bought in United Illuminating in the New Haven area, 80% of their circuits now, they are the most expensive utility in the country. They're more expensive than Con Ed. So I just want to preface that. 80% of their overhead lines have utility protection zone trimming. Their reliability indices are much lower than ours. I've seen it in action. I've worked in those areas. But it's going to cost money, and honestly, I think it's the right way to go. So, we could trim smaller and more often. I'm not sure that's more effective. I mean, maybe getting our spec at 3 years, yes, it would probably be more effective. I haven't seen many utilities across the country that do that.
Okay, so it sounds like blue sky is the best way forward for us. And
we need that in our next rate case.
Yeah, so the supervisor on this call said that he would, reach out to his connections. I think, Supervisor Parsons committed to working through that. So you're saying that's the best for us. Better than a shorter cycle, tree trimming cycle, is blue sky, where you have kind of a greater latitude to cut. And even if it's at 5 years, if you can do blue sky, we'd be better off. Is that?
Yeah, and really, because you can see now, one of our biggest nemesis isn't trees inside of our right-of-way. It's trees that fall outside of our right-of-way. When we only have a 10-foot wide easement, and we almost cut a canopy through a canopy, we cut a hole. We can't focus on trees that may fall 20, 30 feet away because you can't see them yet. If you're cutting the blue sky trimming, the next time through, you're not trying to trim that whole circuit, and you can really focus on a lot of those hazard trees. And I know it sounds long-term, and it is. I'm not saying it isn't. We're only in our second cycle of the 5-year trim. Before that, we didn't even have a cycle trim. So we've already made progress in our second time around. But if we could get it blue sky for our third time, it would really make a significant difference.
One other question, Rob. This is Erica again. Sorry. When you and I had spoken last time, you said, I believe, I don't want to mischaracterize what you said, that we'd gotten some hazard funding for hazard trees.
Yes.
And so I wanted to check in with you and let people on the call know that was some kind of funding that we hadn't gotten before. So what was that? What is the difference between that and blue sky trimming? And have you used the hazard funds to target those hazard trees?
Yeah, so that's a great question, and thank you. We did get a significant, so NYSEG across the 13 divisions got $21 million in 2020 for hazard trees. Hazard trees are trees that will fall that are not in that 10-foot easement, or our right-of-way, as we call it. The Brewster division took a large portion. I think it was like 3.7 million. We took significantly more money. I don't know if that's exactly the number. I will get it to Tony and Supervisor Parsons, because I just want to make sure I'm right. But what we've used that money for first, and we've done a significant amount of it, especially on Trinity Pass Road, is we've attacked the ash tree that shows signs of the emerald ash borer. They have been the number one cause of fallen trees in the last 3 years. I don't have exact numbers. I could talk to the forester on what we've removed, but when I drove down Trinity Pass, I saw a significant amount of ashes removed, and that is what we've focused on first. If there are customers who have specific trees that they want to remove that we may have not been able to do before, we can do that. You call the call center, they get in touch with our forester, the forester comes out. But yes, that is what we've really attacked. Removing, not just trimming, removing the emerald ash tree that has shown signs of the borer, which has been significant.
Yeah, and I'd like to add that those one-off requests to remove specific trees, NYSEG has, in my experience, has been doing a really good job at being responsive. And, we've worked with the arborist, and they're pretty good at responding to those requests. So if you do see any trees, that feel free to call NYSEG and reach out to us as well.
Yeah, that might be great to add to Supervisor Parsons' weekly email just once at least, especially now. Adding to that email, Supervisor.
You like that last one, huh?
I did, thank you.
And we also, and I will also say that we get, and I don't know the numbers, but we did get a hazard tree budget for the rest of this rate case. So that was a significant win. So I will say that the PSC, we filed for blue sky trimming. The PSC pushed us towards the hazard tree budget. So the same money that we would have gotten for blue sky, we went to hazard tree. That we may, this is our first time with it. I don't have a lot of experience. So I don't have real statistics to back that up. But it may be very effective. So this is our first, we only started this in September.
What's the difference, Rob, between blue sky as far as the number of feet or clearance between
So blue sky is, I'm sorry. So blue sky is 10 feet to the sides and from ground to the sky, no canopy over it. A hazard tree program is the removal of any tree. It could be if it's a 70-foot tree and it's 60 feet away, and my forester or somebody calls it in, my forester determines that it could fall. We now have the budget to remove it as long as somebody gives us the permission to do so. We never had that before.
Right.
And if you drive through this area, Rob, you will find there are a huge number of dead trees on the other side of the road to your wires.
Agreed.
I mean, Elmwood Road is a disaster on that.
Okay.
Rob, this is circuit 455, right?
That is correct.
So I will contact Senator Paulin, who's the Senate liaison with the PSC, and suggest to her that we need blue sky trimming on this circuit. Is that what you'd like?
So I think, now I want blue sky trimming everywhere, but here's what I think would be more effective, and you could take this any route you want to. I think, and Carl would probably support me on this, is that if you had power to support that in our next rate case to make that our standard, that would probably be more effective. Because, and I'll tell you this, eventually we are going to be doing trim circuits in all of Pound Ridge and Lewisboro. So if we get it in the next rate case, so at this point, the tree trimming is done here for this year. They're not going to let us come back because of the amount of circuits we have a requirement to meet. It's really supporting it when we file for our next rate case.
Okay.
And like I said, that's long-term, I know, but it is really the most effective way.
Because recently I've been cultivating a relationship with Senator Paulin, not because she's our senator. She isn't at all. I think she's a senator down in Rye or somewhere. But she is the Senate's liaison with the PSC.
Okay.
And we also have a PSC contact, Peter, that we can talk to directly.
But I always have the feeling, I may be wrong, but I sense that Amy Paulin has got a considerable amount of pull with the PSC.
Right. Okay.
Rob, anything else you can suggest to us? I know at the top of the call, and I know this is not your area, but I think you talked about the UPS, the uninterruptible power supply at our plant. So just focusing back on our plant.
Sure.
And again, this is not your area of expertise, but I know personally that you have a similar kind of some power issues where you live and you have a plant. And so what do you know about that? And again, the reason I'm asking this is not to put you on the spot, but it's just because there's going to be a place where your responsibility ends and our town's begins as far as the Oakridge Water District goes. And so I want to make sure that we're all clear on this call what that is, and that if there's something that we need to be doing on our end, with regards to our plant that we're doing that.
So here's what I can tell you, and this is both from, a place that I used to live. I still own the house that has a water district, and a previous career of mine where I worked in a broadcast industry and used to build transmitter rooms that couldn't interrupt power because even a blip takes them off the air. It's called a flywheel UPS. It's a large wheel that spins when the utility power is on, and continues to spin for a period of time depending on what you buy, that for the short duration blip, like the trip from this device, it's continuous. Now, again, what I don't want to say this is a cheap option or, something that is, I can't tell you if it's worth looking into for your situation. I can tell you that it works. I can't tell you how much it's going to cost, but there is a 3-phase flywheel UPS that would, and I don't know the dimensions on how long that would last. It's not something like a backup generator, but it could bridge the gap between the time of the loss of the utility power and the time it takes to turn the generator on. Now, again, there's coordination. I mean, it's a whole engineering study and everything, but there are items that could be installed to assist in the situation that you have.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Rob, one other question. This is my husband now jumping in.
Hi, Rob. How you doing?
Hey, how are you?
Good. So as far as this new, what you're proposing, this 3-phase line coming through now, so that basically will be almost like a grid system, like a city would have, where you can actually backfeed the lines that way. If we were able to do that, is that what you were talking about before?
Right. So like if you just took a look at my map here, right, and we're going to look at the green. So the main feed, if you see where my mouse is, the main feed comes up Conant Valley Road. If we lost the section that I'm circling here, there'll be an automated switch right where my device is, where my mouse is. We can open that from our control center in Binghamton. And as long as there's no fault out in the purple or down towards here, we'll close an automated switch over on Kitchewan Road, and the power will come on. Now that should take about 10 to 15 minutes, but yes, it's more of an automated grid type system.
Okay, and just to be clear, this is about a $6 million project. It's already been approved. It sounds like you're just getting permits now, and it's going to start, it's a project for next year.
April, the kickoff date is April of 2021. And again, this is going either with the rate case sign off or not. Our company is making this investment.
Right. Rob, someone had a question about the transformers and switching gear that I believe are owned by NYSEG that are in Oakridge. Do you know about those? And the question is that can they be repainted?
Can they be repainted?
Yeah, I guess these are the enclosures for this.
I mean,
equipment.
there are transformers and underground switchgear that are in there. What do we mean by repainted?
They're corroded. The enclosures are corroded, and they're rusty or the paint's old.
So I think there's a couple differences, right? If they're faded, we don't go out and paint them. Okay. If they're rusted and they have a chance of someone being able to enter or an animal being entered, we replace them.
Okay.
So if you have specific situations, just send them to me and we'll get an underground crew out there to take a look at them.
Okay.
If I may interrupt for a minute, I was the one who asked the question.
Sure.
Go ahead, Dave.
No, they're more than faded, but they're just an eyesore. They're kind of transitioning in between faded and corroded. and a number of them have a lot of rust spots on them, and I think it's just it's a visual issue. These are all above ground transformers, but they were installed way back when Oakridge was first developed. So it's 30, 40 years at this point, and it's just it's an eyesore more than anything else. I think functionally there's no problem.
So all I can tell you is we can get out some of our engineers, our field engineers out there to take a look. I mean, the way we're going to replace them is if they pose a issue of, you know, significant damage or rust that will affect the operation. I mean, I understand you may not like the fact that they're above ground, but I don't really have an answer for that part of it.
I'm not suggesting replacing them. It's just from an aesthetic point of view, they look pretty terrible.
Tony, I'll send you pictures tomorrow.
Yeah, I was gonna ask if you could send me pictures, and then we'll,
Yeah, you can send it to Rob.
Yeah.
I don't know if NYSEG is in charge of that. I'm not sure.
Well,
Yes, I'm in charge of it.
But you are?
So I'll tell you that every circuit gets inspected every 2 years. We have it's not by me, but there's a manager who is the head of inspection that, you know, Peter brought something to my attention today. It was a wood treatment pole inspection. Those same contract groups, you know, take a look at these things. Maybe they've missed it. And what they do is they create notifications to me if they need to be replaced. Now, I'm not saying that we haven't missed any. And if you identify ones that are in significant disrepair, you know, we'll change them.
Yeah.
But what I'm hearing, Rob, is this. Go ahead, Robin. Sorry.
I'm not sure NYSEG is the right people to discuss this with. But again, I'll send it to Tony tomorrow, the pictures, and we could figure it out.
Okay. Yep. So, Rob, from your perspective, that's not something that NYSEG normally does. You don't go around with a can of paint and touch up these enclosures.
I mean, no. You know that we have 200,000 underground transformers just in the Brewster division. You know, I don't. You know, we need a workforce just to. Right. You know what I mean? I don't. It's not something we do.
Again, Tony, I'm sorry to interrupt. Our painter said he would do it. He would paint them. So that wouldn't be an issue.
Okay. And if NYSEG is agreeable to that.
It is a live electrical device. So.
Well, I mean, again, I don't know if we're talking about the same thing. It's like a little tiny, like a house.
Yeah, So send the picture to Tony, and then Tony and I can talk about it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions from anyone?
Come on, we have a lot of star power on this call. Does anybody else have a question?
Tony.
Star power. Yes, hi, Kevin.
This is for Rob. Rob, what's the your experience with dead trees falling on the lines and shorting them out, as opposed to branches off live trees?
I think so.
There's an awful lot of dead trees out here. You know, I know Lewisboro loves its trees, but do we have to love the dead ones?
Right. So I think it's twofold, you know, and again, right, everything has a cost to it. So as a homeowner, you know, there's some responsibility for the people to remove the dead trees from their property. Again, I completely understand that there's a cost involved in doing that. But for the utility, we never had a budget before this year to remove trees that were outside of our right of way, because the rates that you and I pay, because I'm a NYSEG customer also, the PSC never gave us the ability to use those rates for that purpose. Now, this year, starting in September, we do have a budget for that. The amount of dead trees that are out there, we will never remove them all.
Right.
But we are September was the start of it.
Okay.
So, and for this rate case, which will end in 2023, we have been given that budget. Again, it's probably a small dent compared to what they are, but we do now have a budget for that.
Okay. All right, good. All right. Thank you.
No problem.
Very good.
All right, Tony.
Okay,
Is there
unless
anything
there's
else?
any other questions for Rob, we'll let him go, and then we'll
One quick
end this
question,
meeting.
Tony. It's supposed to snow. We'll be in touch with Rob if the power goes out.
We don't have I've been on storm calls for the last 3 days. I believe that the hurricane has stayed far enough to our south, and the combination of the warm air coming up from the south has pushed the cold front north of us. Now, let's just hope that the people that we pay for those weather reports are right. But Supervisor Parsons has my cell phone number. We were on the phone earlier. And yeah, we're prepared. We've increased our overnight coverage tonight, and we've held our contractors. There was a lot of political pressure to send our workforce down south because there's probably about 6 million people out of power between Louisiana and up the East Coast. We are holding off on that through tomorrow just to make sure that it doesn't impact us, but we will eventually have to lose that workforce to help the others. But we have held strong through tomorrow, and I think we'll be in a pretty good spot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, the last I've heard, the word snow had disappeared from this area.
So yeah, north of 84, I think they will see snowfall.
Yeah.
But
There could be some in the Brewster division, but I
Yeah.
don't think it's going to be in Lewisboro or Pound Ridge.
no, I think it's our northern areas.
My phone says snow at 9 a.m.
Oh, really?
And what does your phone know?
As much as the weather people know.
Yeah,
Nothing.
I've paid a lot of meteorologists to be wrong, so let's just hope they're right.
They're as bad as economists, and I'm an economist.
Hey, what? Oh, I can. Okay.
Both of
But
us.
yeah, we do have our contract workforce through close of business tomorrow. If we do not have significant outages, we will probably lose them to the southern coast.
So who from the town is like going to be taking the lead on this and following up and making sure it all happens? Is that Tony?
Yeah,
Probably
I'll take a lead
on a day-to-day basis, but if
and
something
Peter helps out a lot.
Thank you, Peter. Okay.
My problem is I understand virtually none of this. All I've got is a good list of telephone numbers.
That's important.
That's what we need you to do, Supervisor Parsons.
Thank you.
Between Erica and I, we'll crack the whip, Peter.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Rob, for doing this for us, and yeah, we'll definitely be in touch.
No problem.
And thank you all
after
for joining the call.
poisoning one half of South Salem this afternoon, we could go to this half of South Salem and fix
Just a few gardens. All right, everybody, have a happy Halloween.
Hey, sorry, I was exaggerating like
I know.
crazy.
Thanks, Rob. We really appreciate it.
No problem, America.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
very much.
Tony.